So in between streams, I picked up some items and sold them. And by the way, I don't know why I keep calling them streams. They're just videos. And I found out where I forgot my stuff. My minerals here. My nutrients, rather. And this stream's going to be a little bit more streamlined because the last one I just kind of walked around a lot. So instead of doing that, we're going to finish some things up real quick before we go back to the normal stream, I guess. So first things first. I don't know how I missed this. Here's a chest. It's a bead puzzle. Now, there's still one way to solve a bead puzzle. Like, you know, there's all kinds of different ways, but one thing you kind of notice, if it's like this is kind of obvious that the last 3 beads I need are right here. Right, blue, yellow, white. And I got these 2 extra beads, so what that tells me immediately is that I'm going to have to use one or both of these to get it down, right, to decrease the amount of beads I have, right? Like that's in the beginning, it's definitely going to be like that because I got 5 beads. I need only 1 at the end, and I really only need these 3 at the end. So, you know, I obviously I played with this a little bit. So, you know, first you think, okay, there's multiple ways I can start this, right? I can start with a blue, white, red, green. I could start with by putting a green down. I could put this one down, yellow, blue. I could do blue. I could do that and just go right to black, but of course that would be pointless, right? And I could do blue, green to get over here. So sometimes you just use process of elimination. I'm going to just start with blue, white. Okay. Now I got 2 reds. Now, there's no way I'm going to get rid of these reds unless I do that. Unless I get 4 reds. Right? Because how else am I going to get rid of these reds and go back to what I need? I mean, I could possibly, I would just have a yellow, but I mean, to me, it's kind of obvious. I need to eliminate it with those 4 reds. So let's just do that. And then if you're looking at it and noticing something, you're probably looking and you're just like, well, this is kind of obvious what's going to happen here. You know, the bead puzzles get more advanced as they go along. You know, but boom. All right, we open it. I also marked on the map. So in the last stream, Brian Castier's grave said, hey, there's something X marked. That means there's something nearby. And I think a logical gamer would think, oh, wow, look at here. We should go through here. But actually, it was buried right here. Let me show you. There was something buried. What it really is a mound of dirt. It gave me a red key here. William thinks it goes to a door. I'm gonna guess he does too. Thanks, William. They have the nutrients, it's time to plant them in the garden.
I'm doing something wrong.
Try again, Aaron. Aaron opened the container. Woo, these crystals smell awful. Well, I guess garlic does too, yet that's good for you. Aaron sprinkled the container's contents in wide arcs, spreading nutrients evenly throughout the garden. Then he stepped back and watched expectantly. Nothing happened. After a few minutes, Aaron laughed at his own foolishness. I'm not sure what I was expecting. Leaves to go shooting up into the sky, or the fruit to ripen before my eyes, I suppose. I guess this is less dramatic form of magic. Who is it? A nervous voice asked through the door. Just a couple of ravenous Jaegers looking for a handout. The door opened a crack and an eye peered out, as if a man inside actually expected to see the starving beast on his front porch. Then the door opened all the way. Who are you really? The man asked suspiciously. We're from Pianda, traveling to see what life is like way out here in Alona. The man snorted. Life in Alona freaks. First there was the feeble pox, now the Mayrat invasion. The Mayrat have invaded? It's only a matter of time, with scouts and spies being seen as far east as Berlin. The man sighed. Isolated as we are, Alona will be easily overrun. That's why so many of the townsfolk are packing up and moving south. But the Imperial Army will protect you. Better to protect yourself. Now me, I have a friend who knows where to find protection. His information led me to a bead chest, probably stolen and dumped. Only problem is the rain wiped the conversion key off it. If you think you'd have better luck opening the damn thing, I'll sell the location to you for what I paid, 150 burlas. Now, I would pay this man, but of course I already know where the chest is, so I'm just gonna not pay him. William considered the deal. I think I've decided I don't want the chest at any price. The man blustered. Well, thanks for wasting my time. Just don't come running to me when the Mayrat are at your heels. Party neared this house, a dog lurking behind the front door began to bark. They took another step forward, the dog's bark got louder and meaner. They took one more step, the dog sounded like it was about to make toothpicks out of the wooden door. The companions looked at each other in silent agreement. They decided to back off and move on. As soon as they rounded the bend in the road, the front door opened, revealing a small girl and an even smaller boy. Giggling, the girl patted her brother on the head. Good dog, Freddy. Good dog. The little boy growled and wagged his rump happily. When you right click on it, it tells you what's going on. So this is the one with the colors scratched off, but you can kind of see where what colors they are. So it looks like you can kind of tell that this is blue, this is red. That means that this has to be yellow, and usually this book here is green. no, we wouldn't want that. See, my estimation is it's either got to end on one red when I already have a green, or it's going to end up on a green here, or it's going to end up here. My estimation is probably here. That should be interesting. So, okay, so this equals that. So then how do I get doubling it? Yeah, I don't remember, so it's kind of like I'm thinking, see, it can end in any of these. So I kind of just have to figure it out sometimes. Okay. just do them wrong and you don't, you make a mistake. Shit. What am I doing here? I know what you're thinking. Finally. Sorry. Sometimes that can take... You really have to think about these things. Got a tortoise shield here. It's a pretty decent shield. The valuable is that it's harder than the branded shield here. I mean, it won't get damaged as fast as my banded shield. So that's valuable. Too bad you can't repair shields.
Does it seem awfully quiet?
Monkeys. Okay, while I was, so I got some different spells here. While I was planning the next stream, selling them, a lot of different spells were coming in. And soon, you'll see some of these in action here. This makes you immune to all magical damage and effects. Cloak of the Magi. This protects you from charm spells, which pretty much nobody uses. Great spell. This Imperious Passage. Just basically means that if Aaron has this on him, he can cast spells even if they're right next to him. I know you're like, wow, that's a lot of spells come in, but it's just sometimes you're just really close to getting the next spell, and they all just come in at once. I try to avoid hitting them as much as possible because I don't have any wet stomachs. I don't know, nobody was selling them. I think the game just crashed here.
Does it seem awfully quiet?
Oh wow, I got lucky. I thought it crashed. his accuracy sucks. That guy's accuracy is always on point. After all those power-ups that just start adding up, all these little things just fill up your inventory, it's best to just use them, honestly. You can always get more of them. They sell a lot of this stuff. See, trying to retreat is very risky, and they really do not want me to retreat. I guess you just die. Because they would rather you die than not you retreat sometimes. It's always risky trying to retreat. weapons they have are so inferior, yet somehow they do so much damage and take so much, and they're able to keep standing. see if I have enough food, and I can't. I guess I'm not calculating fast enough to see if I have enough food to last this long. I think I have enough food to survive. Just need to get to that there. But it looks like there's a bunch of shepherds hiding outside the town. Of course, he would have no rations. Matron stood from the desk. May I see your pass, please? Aaron looked at her blankly. Pass? The woman's expression didn't change, yet Aaron suddenly felt like an idiot. Because he is. Your academy authorization pass. I'm afraid you can't go until I've seen your pass. Here you go, bitch. The matron inspected the pass before handing it back. Thank you. Go right in. So I can go through here, or I can go up here. Oh, look at some dude. Here you go.
Hello? Is anyone at home? I'm over here. What do you want? Are you the curator of this museum? Museum? This is my office, boy. I'm Walston Moore, the new director of the Bell Studies Department, now that Burns has passed on. Poor guard his soul. I thought the Vel were just a legend. Legend? They lived, son, sure as you or I. Sure as I, anyway. I'm not so sure about you. Let me tell you, they were a damn sight more advanced than our so-called empire, and that's without any magic. More advanced, but without magic? That doesn't make any sense. What would you know about sense, I tell you, the Vel were more advanced. Magic's a fluke, an unpredictable lot of hocus-pocus. You can't rely on it. Core's blood, most people can't even use it. But the Vel used something within everybody's reach. Science. What are all these markings on the wall? Those are the 3 languages of the Vel. As near as we can determine, the Vel actually used completely different written languages for different purposes. We understand most of their common language and bits and pieces of the one they used for verse, but the last one, their scientific language, has confounded us.
Meaning no disrespect, but I've never seen the need for science.
Huh. Everybody could use science, boy. They just don't realize it. Come here, let me show you something. See the object in that glass case?
What is it?
That, my boy, is a piece of Vel science. Only a few artifacts have ever been found. Of those, only a scant handful make any sort of sense to us. But this one still works.
What does this artifact do?
Ah, a logical question. This wondrous contraption synthesizes a cohesive polymer from petrochemical sources. It then applies that polymer in a wide dispersal pattern to... it sprays a substance that makes whatever it touches ultra-hard and durable.
Aren't there potions to do the same thing?
To a lesser extent, yes, but you're missing the point. The liquid happens without any magic whatsoever. True, magic was responsible for many wonders during the first wave before the uprisings, but even then only a relative few were able to use the power. Science can be used by anyone, by everyone. Think of the possibilities once we master the principles involved.
3 languages? How strange.
To us, perhaps. But it would have seemed natural to them, of course.
If you figured out the first 2, why can't you get the last one?
Each language is highly specialized, with little overlap between them. Without some way to put things into context, we can only guess at their meaning. Vel scholars dream of finding that missing piece of the puzzle which will unlock the scientific language.
I think we've taken up enough of your time.
Yes, I agree. I need to get back to my work.
For a history lesson besides that one that you just got. The Emperor is the cornerstone of our civilization, the very heart of Antara. Upon the ruler's death, the Imperial cloak seeks out the most suitable living descendant of the Valorian bloodline to become the new Emperor or Empress. The Emperor manages all foreign affairs, relations between the sentient races, and the taxation of the Empire. He also commands the Imperial army through the appointed Marshal. The Emperor is the champion and embodiment of Imperial law, and an audience with him is the last possible resort of a wronged citizen. The Jaegers are the highest of the noble houses. These families supported the Emperor before there was an empire, when Valorian was merely king of a province. They support him still today, forming the administrative staff of the Empire and the managers in the Imperial Palace. They oversee the Shira and monitor adherence to Imperial edict and law. The Grand Council, also called the Shira, is comprised of representatives from every guild, province, and house. Each representative serves a set term, 3 months for guild members, 6 months for prominent houses, and 12 months for provincial representatives. The Shira is responsible for public spending, creation of laws, and the resolution of disputes between province, guilds, or houses. Imperial consuls are appointed by the Emperor himself, representing him in every imperial city. The consul is the Emperor's eyes and ears within a city, and so the office of the consul is also usually the center for that city's imperial intelligence efforts. The consul speaks with the voice of the Emperor, so any order which he might give is assumed to be the order of the Emperor himself. Each province is overseen by a hereditary governor who handles all tasks associated with running a large piece of the empire. Although governors do not create laws for their provinces, they are charged with enforcing them and dispensing justice for all crimes not handled by the tribunal. Since the tribunal only deals with the worst of crimes, rape, murder, and the like, the governor handles most of the judiciary load. The guilds are organizations organizations of the skilled craftsmen of Antara. Guilds regulate the quality of goods and set prices for their work. They also lobby on behalf of their members and interests. Although some guilds have a chapter in each city, all organized under a single empire spanning administration, others are organized locally. Guild membership is mandatory for anyone wishing to practice that craft. Humanity's Homecoming, Volume 2. Let me make sure this is your... This was Antaran. Let's see if there's a Volume 1. Humanity's Homecoming, Volume 1. There are, among many colleagues, many who believe that the passing of the age of magic from this land is a tragic happening. I disagree. Our ancestors were foolish to allow the mages, self-important and drunk with the victory over the Gerolf, to consolidate their power. And I get ahead of myself, and I will allow history to tell its own tale. After our great victory, we turned our attentions to the rebuilding of our lands. Very little of our architecture or agricultural has survived the tensions of the Gerolf. So we started over. We quickly found that it was much easier to employ the assistance of a mage than to rebuild everything without magical help. And so the mages became indispensable. Some among the mages truly wished to help mankind, and these few did not take advantage of their stature. Most others embraced a lifestyle of ease, often at the expense of the common folk around them, and put their free time to the pursuit of magical knowledge. The abilities of these mages grew, and they crafted spells and artifacts of astounding power and subtlety. And then, of course, there were those who felt that their innate talents placed them far above the masses, and who focused their power on conquest and domination, regardless of the consequences to others. Humanity's Homecoming, Volume 2. As petty men and women built their fortunes and fates of magic, and a historical event occurred at the garrison of the shepherds. Those brave souls, left to guard the pass against the return of the Gerolf, had grown contemplative in their solitude. It was to this isolated group that the three faces of the Triune first appeared. As the mages carved their petty empires out of the civilized lands, the shepherds formed the temples of the Triune and set forth missionaries to bring their message to the people. The mages, caught up in their own power, dismissed the Triune as lunatic ravings. Such intense self-absorption typified the magely mindset and paved the way for a disaster. For all their power and trickery, all their knowledge and research, they were still human, and it was that very humanity which touched off the argument which ended their age of influence. Two angry men, prideful and jealous, loosed the full force of their power in a violent duel. The resulting maelstrom of raw magic annihilated both the combatants as well as a vast portion of the surrounding countryside, creating the area now known as the Waste. Witnesses to this duel were obliterated along with the rest of Juno. There could be no other explanation for the disaster. And so I put to you this question: were we not justified in driving them out and destroying their works? Their own decadence and pride drove them to increase their power rather than to learn to control it. The Triune smiles upon us as certainly they must. May we never again become dependent upon such as they. The Founding of Antara, Part 1, by Imperial Scribe. By the whims of fate and my Lord Emperor's sheer cunning brilliance, we are triumphant and without a drop of blood upon the battlefield. Who would have thought 25 years ago that any of this could be accomplished? None but my Lord Emperor. And now I wish I could take my doubts of so many years past. They shame me. Looking back, I see now that her success was destined at once. Emperor Valorian started us on our journey. Then a king, not an emperor, Lord Valorian was not satisfied with merely the Antaran kingdom. He had a grander vision, and the key lay with the neighboring state of Berlin. As rich as Antara was, Berlin was far richer. While Antara had built great armies to fight hostile neighbors to the east and south, Berlin had applied itself to mining and metalcraft. Coins minted from Berlin gold became the standard of currency throughout throughout the continent, and King Valorian desired that wealth and prestige for Antara. Despite their small standing army, Berlin was not his easy target. Antara bought all its weapons and armor from Berlin, which had even finer armaments in reserve, and an invasion could destroy the very confidence in its currency which His Majesty sought to possess. King Valorian was not dissuaded. He once said to me, "If you take risks, history will either remember you as a brilliant leader or an utter fool, but at least you will be remembered." With little hope of a quick military victory, and lacking the resources necessary for a prolonged campaign, His Majesty took a gamble. He sent his agents out into the towns and villages, the forests, the woods, to spread word that Antara would give sanctuary to any mage willing to accept it. Founding of the Empire, Part 2. King Valorian's offer of sanctuary was heard throughout the continent, but at first nobody came, and who could blame them? Only a few generations ago, mages were driven from cities and slaughtered on sight. They learned to hide their talents and themselves. Paranoia came easily, trust did not. Finally, one man weighed the possibility of betrayal and death against the chance to end the fear and practice his abilities openly. When others heard how well he was treated by His Majesty, why, we were up to our necks in grateful mages. When King Valorian asked them to go into hiding once again, this time as his agents, most agreed and slipped quietly into Berlin. Over the next 20 years, they slowly rose to influential and powerful positions. While His Majesty pretended peace and goodwill towards Berlin, thereby becoming their strongest supposed ally, his magical agents within its borders used their arcane abilities and political influence to keep Berlin in a constant state of internal upheaval and unrest. After 2 decades of bribery, assassination, rumor-mongering, and detrimental legislation, Berlin's political and social climate tottered on the edge of chaos. When King Valorian annexed Berlin and brought it under the Antaran banner, the people welcomed him with cheers of adulation. He moved quickly to extend his influence, but the master coup was convincing the 3 branches of the Triune to support his cause under the proposition that spreading the faith would be easier with safe passage guaranteed throughout his domain. And so, having secured triunal support, King Valorian declared himself emperor. With the combined armies of Antara and Berlin, Emperor Valorian swept eastward. Some provinces offered token resistance at first, but a brief demonstration of power from Antaran mages convinced them of the wisdom of my Lord Emperor's sovereignty. And so it is that the plan Emperor Valorian sent into motion 25 years ago has come to fruition. Citizens delivered from generations of violent border conflicts, food shortages, and political uncertainty are prosperous and happy. Each of the mages seeking sanctuary within the Empire is required to swear fealty to the Empire, which they do gladly in appreciation for the imperial amnesty. And now those mages are being sent out among the people to help build and improve this new Antaran Empire. I suspect that history will indeed remember Emperor Valorian. Lurden's Essays on Ancient History, Volume 1. I have argued this point for many years, and I have finally come to accept that since there can never be proof, my theory will never be given the consideration it deserves, and so I write it here, that at least it shall be preserved for future generations. Perhaps someday there will come a like-minded scholar who will bring my theory before an enlightened academic community, one less interested in internal politics and in the finding of the few serious scholars we have left in these dark times. I'm speaking, of course, of my theory of the dawn of magic. Before the Empire, before the Gulf War, before the exile, we were a peaceful, agrarian people who tilled these lands and tended the crops and the herds, and we mined the earth for jewels and useful metals. We traded amongst ourselves. Some few scraps of records remain documenting all these things. We know that humans' lands extended even further than the boundaries of Antaran holdings today. We know that they were Traka, seen in skies, and our villages fishers and hunters, much as they are today. But there's one thing which is lacking completely from these records. There's not one mention of spells or spellcasters. It is clear to anyone who studies the historical evidence that this was a time before magic. Without magic, a time before magic. Volume 2. The Geralf came upon us like a flash flood. They had hunted out their own lands, driven the Chakra from theirs, and still hungered for fresh territory. They struck without warning or mercy, killing thousands in their initial push. We had no choice but to run, fleeing across mountains, desert, and ocean. The lands we settled were harsh, but they gave us a place to gather our people, nurse our wounds, and plan for the future. It was difficult enough to eke out an existence over the next century, let alone dream of conquest and the reclamation of our homelands. But the taste of defeat was bitter in our mouths. To our children, we taught not the finer crafts and skills, but the skills of the warrior. We taught them how to mine vital metals and to forge weapons and armor. It was sometime during this period that magic was discovered. Details of this period are sketchy, but evidence suggests that this was not an individual achievement, but rather nearly simultaneous manifestations of power throughout the human population. I speculate it was like the opening of a door or the bursting of a dam. The first mages were feared, hunted down as unnatural and evil, but as their powers brought unexpected and unaccustomed ease to the lives of the exiles, mages rose in stature to become the leaders of the people. With a new weapon in its arsenal, the human army returned to their homeland and descended upon the Geralf without warning. Volume 3. The Geralf War was brutal. The Geralf, fierce and skilled war fighters, greatly outnumbered us, but with no central leadership coordinating their packs, their forces were divided. Human mages called the very elements themselves down upon the enemy and reclaimed our homeland one piece at a time. We drove them back, pack by pack, until finally they massed at the foot of the Ulrich Mountains. The casualties on both sides in that final battle were staggering. Ultimately, the Geralf were forced to surrender and retreat over the mountains to the north. The shepherds were set to watch for any hint of a fresh Geralf offensive, and humanity turned to the task of rebuilding civilization. All of these facts are well known by the Academy, and I do not dispute them. My theory is simply this: men and women who have unsuspected and untapped potential for magic have been known to manifest it for the first time when their lives were threatened. Might this not also happen to an entire race? Perhaps humanity discovered magic because we desperately needed a weapon against the Geralf. Perhaps the exile was not tragic, but the finest blessing in human history. The loss of a few thousand lives pales in significance to a racial advance of magic's magnitude. If the overbearing herd-burst who called themselves the finest scholars in the civilized world were not desperately trying to discredit me by propounding the idiotic notion that the dawn of magic was a completely coincidental event, they would have to admit that I am correct in this. This is kind of to explain how Aaron got magic when his life was threatened. And it also has like an academic flair to it. You know, how academics try to weigh things. Like it really, tells a story that I think is kind of accurate in that way, that people, was it coincidental or was there something, behind it, looking for some food. Maybe in this next town, this town, they have some food I can buy. Maybe buying Sen water might help my battles too. William leaned in to eavesdrop on a neighboring table. Caverton's in hot water over this whole concert fiasco, the first was saying. People are moving against him in the sheer. I hear he's been calling in years' worth of favors just to hold on to his interests. The second man nodded in agreement. There's talk in the palace that the emperor might transfer the governorship of Takor to another house. Requests from major houses for imperial audience have tripled already. It's quite a bee's nest. William lost interest as the conversation moved on to other topics. Aaron didn't understand the bit about transferring the governorship, so William explained. Most governorships remain in the same family for generations. The Escobars have overseen Piando almost since the empire began. But officially, provisional governors are custodians for the emperor. It hasn't happened in decades, but the emperor is free to revoke the position and reassign it to another house. Ah, so that's why Caverton was so upset. William smiled at the memory. Yep. Almost makes you feel sorry for the guy. Almost. Everybody keeps talking about Chuno, right? Look, oh, about Chuno and the waste. And this is what happened after the waste. For those who don't, is they created these people. Shoot lightning at me. Little bastard. He shot cold at me. suspect that the game's AI like knows like which one is more injured and which one to attack, because they have the most likely chance of killing. That's probably why they focus on Aaron so much. So this is a lightning staff. When you use it, when you use the thrust, it'll unleash lightning. This is our old friend, the Staff of Nightmares. We could have had this since all the way back in chapter 1, but I mean, enemies they run away already. Why would I want to have a staff that causes them to run away even more? So there's basically nothing here that I want. I mean, at best you could probably buy Essence of the Wind and Send Water would probably be the two best things here. But his, I mean, I'll buy some even though it's kind of expensive. grounding wire protects you against lightning. Finally, a freaking whetstones. My blade is in horrible shape. I'm gonna have to use a lot of them to get my whetstones back up. To get the blade back, but I blessed it. That's why I kept on to it. Well, held on to it. Got a Geralf staff there. It's slightly better, but I don't know. I don't have a lot of money right now.
If fame comes round to find me, please friends, now don't you tell her. If glory comes a-calling, just hide me in the cellar. For I'll never lie with glory, and I'll never look for fame. And in all the tales that joymen tell, you'll never hear my name.
Middle-aged woman greeted the travelers, offering them a drink of well water. They accepted gratefully, washing the road dust out of their mouths. As they drank, she apologized for the quality of her water. Of course, you couldn't expect it to taste like water drawn from the prophet's well in Camille, now, would you? I've actually seen the prophet, you know. I always go to him when there's a crisis or I have a difficult decision to make. The Triune speaks through him, pointing out the correct path. I'll always come away with a calm heart and a clear head. The woman's eyes glowed fervently. I've talked to folk who he's cured of stiff joints, warts, diarrhea. Yes, I think we get the idea. I heard that the prophet even cured a boy of the pox. The companions looked at each other skeptically. The sisters of Sanhedrin have healing gifts. Sometimes they cure the pox. The true believer looked smug. Perhaps, but in this case, they tried to cure the boy and they failed. The prophet succeeded. The companions thanked the woman for her hospitality. The short, round woman held her finger up beside her nose in a gesture meant to convey shrewd deduction. Say, you're not from around here, are you? I'll bet you've come for your key, right? William's brow furrowed. Right on one, wrong on two. The woman argued persuasively. Are you sure you haven't lost a key? I found one while out picking flowers at the edge of the woods to the north. It's much too fancy to belong to any locks around here, and you're the only strangers I've seen in weeks. It must belong to you. William tried to, no, truly, ma'am, it's not our key. The woman pressed the key into William's hand. Oh, I'm sure you're wrong. A young man so far from home can't be expected to keep track of everything. Take your key back, please. William gave up. All right, if you insist. The woman smiled brightly, pleased to have done her good deed for the day. William suppressed the urge to ask if she happened to find a bag of burlas they recently misplaced. Instead, he bade her thanks and good day. Here's the key. She gave me this green key right here. Remember, recall this is the one we got at the beginning of this video. Red key. The door opened as William and Aaron approached the house. "You're not from around here, or what do you want?" the elderly man asked suspiciously. William put on his friendly smile. "We're just passing through. Aren't travelers welcome around here?" "No, not since someone chopped down my family's ancestral tree. I know it wasn't anyone from around here. No Chunese would commit such a sacrilegious act." Aaron said he understood, though he was actually somewhat confused. The man continued, his voice tight and angry. "House Sumner has tended that tree for 6 generations. 6! Some son of a wastrel chopped it down one night. The wood's probably already been carved into a curio. Lay you odds it's setting on some Jager's mantle even as we speak." Aaron tried a few words of sympathy, but the man was too angry to pay heed. Barely able to contain his rage, he slammed the door in their faces.
Does it seem awfully...
Honestly, like it's so weird they all say we're older. You know, like that's one thing I've never been able to figure out. How some of them seem to have bows and some of them don't, or maybe they all have bows. I'm not sure. repeatedly sharpen it while during combat and after combat. These guys never carry any food. accuracy when there are spells that do not require accuracy that are quite effective. William bowed as the door opened. He heard a deep voice say, "Ah, good day to you, noble Piandant, and to you as well, young mage." William straightened to find himself staring into the blank white gaze of a man with no irises. "I don't mean to be rude, but how can you see us if your eyes?" The man answered simply, "One does not require eyes to see. Have you come for a blessing?" "Which arm of the triune do you represent?" The man's voice took on a deep ringing tones that made the air vibrate. "I represent all or none as you see fit. I do not split my faith into three and then decide between the parts. I open myself fully to whichever face wishes to speak through me." "Then as a blessing from you would be 3 times as potent." The prophet frowned. "Mine is this faith of peace. Blessings are not gifts of power. To receive a blessing, you must relinquish a sword pristine and unmarred by battle." So this is the Jesus Christ, basically, of this game, of this, of this universe. The prophet examined the weapon with his sightless eyes. "Yes, this metal is pure, unstained by blood. I will give you my blessing." The companions knelt before the prophet, who set his hands on their heads. In a voice so low as to be almost unintelligible, he said, "Man lives but once, though in that life is 1,000 lives. Man dies but once, though in that death is all eternity. Blood, breath, and bone, ocean, air, and earth. The fire that binds, the fire that burns. May your flame burn clear and still in the winds of the world." The companions rose to their feet and noticed that one of their packs was glowing. Looking inside, they discovered the source to be the insurance policy bought in Amazi, which shone with the warm blue light. Please, the prophet told them, you have been touched, granted a great gift. Do not squander it. Now you must leave. The glow faded as the prophet ushered the companions out. Gift? What kind of gift? I don't understand. The prophet smiled enigmatically as he closed the door. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a blessed insurance policy. This is one of the funniest jokes from this game. So the insurance policy now is this insurance policy will grant you amazing power, guys. It increases defense by 5. See that? See, basically, I don't think you even have to hold it anymore. Like, look, so as soon as I changed it over, it brought it up to 50. It brought it up from previous. I don't think you have to hold it forever anymore, but I think it's just like it increased my defense by 5. I mean, this is probably the only time in the game in which somebody, like one of the characters, seemed to be screwing with you, like they were trying to, screw you out of your money, and they actually weren't screwing you out of your money. There was actually a point to it, like they were going to give you something in the future, whereas most of the time they don't, everyone else just takes your money. We already have one of those. William noticed a sign by the well. 60 burles per a sip? That's outrageous. A short, husky man approached and launched into a sales pitch. Camille's very own prophet once drank from this well, blessing with wondrous restorative powers. 60 burlips per sip, but you might say it's well worth it. The man laughed loudly at his joke. See, this is another case in which somebody's trying to take money from you. For that kind of money, we'd rather find our restoration in a barrel of ale, thank you. William replied, walking away. Core, that fellow must think we must just fell off the rhubarb wagon.
What am I using for brains?
Well, it's worth a try, isn't it? You have a bucket, you have a well.
I'm doing something wrong.
But no. There's some quick money and a little bit more gambling skill. know when they're gonna pull out a bow. I mean, last time we fought these women, they all had bows. That spell that one of them fired at. It's one of the. This is the deadliest ranged spell in the game. Like that depends on accuracy. There's no CON for Congress.
Does it seem awfully quiet all of a sudden?
start you out with like 5 beats, and then they want you to make them 3. This time they want me to turn 3 beats into 5. That means that there must be what I call like a multiplier, where I can take these and turn them into more beats. And it kind of just goes around in a circle. We're down the point. I'm gonna have to use this one to get more white beads. It looks like I've done it before, these before, but I don't remember how. You know, that's the way it is. You don't. Am I supposed to remember 20 different chests and memorize all of them? Okay. So. First one. sometimes you just play around with it a little bit just to see, like if you see a pattern or something. Okay, let's see. Definitely need this. They've been hurting my shield pretty hard. Yeah. I can use that. Don't really need that.
Does it seem awfully...
Debating whether I should take a risk here, because I know he has spells that I could use. some reason the game doesn't want to give me that one. Give me that form of magic. I mean, he casted it several times, and for some reason Aaron didn't pick it up. Oh well. Not a huge fan of poison because it only does 1 damage per turn. Not really that valuable. And maybe, I mean, you could put it on my arrows. A willowy young woman answered the door. Young, I just looked that young anyway. Welcoming the strangers with a warm smile. Won't you come in? I'm just about to eat. You look like you could do with some food. William and Aaron gladly took her up on the invitation. Soon they were seated at the table, digging into a large bowl of greens, tomatoes, and cheese. Suddenly, William jumped. I felt something wrap around my leg. The woman reached down and picked up an enormous orange cat. This is Louie, waving the... Oh, and I'm Phoebe. William reached out and gently shook the cat's paw. Pleased to meet you, Louie. Louie jumped onto William's lap. Oof. William grunted under the heavy load, then oof, as the cat's tail went into his mouth. William reached around the huge fur ball in his lap, attempting a bite of salad, but his fork stopped halfway up to his mouth. Phoebe, I don't mean to be rude, but does your cat have a problem? Louis jumped off, offended. Aaron's nose wrinkled. He smells like rotten eggs at low tide. Are you sure he's all right? Phoebe patted the cat, who bumped his head against her hand. Don't you listen to them, Louis. They don't mean to hurt your feelings. The stench worsened. William and Aaron pushed their chairs away from the table. We're really sorry to eat and run, but we've got to go. Phoebe looked vaguely apologetic. He's always like that. It's not his fault. Maybe you should change his diet, Aaron suggested as the companions headed for some fresh air. Companions took an involuntary step backward when the door opened. Weren't expecting to see a human, were you? I'm used to that reaction from strangers, said the deformed man. It's just that we've never seen one in a human village before. There's reason enough for that. Most human don't like to live among the normals. It reminds us of what we can never be. And most normals are uncomfortable around us too, because it reminds them of what they could all too easily become. Isn't it strange being the only human living in town? No, this is my home as far back as we can remember. My family has lived in this village. When the disaster happened, my great, oh, I don't know how great she was. Let's just say my ancestor was returning from a visit to the Temple of St. Adrian near Grandeur. She caught the edge of the blast that made the waste. It changed her and her unborn child, but she was fortunate, and her family took them back. Over many years, the town accepted the family too. It sounds like everything worked out all right. The man shrugged and gestured down at his misshapen body. Guess this all depends on how you look at it. William greeted the woman of the house. 2 children, a boy and a girl, watched the strangers with their big dark eyes. What pretty children you have, William remarked. Why, thank you. They're always a little shy around people they don't know, but normally they're as lively as 2 lambs in a dandelion patch. Are they shy with your human neighbor? William asked. The woman shook her head, laughing. My goodness, no. If I let them, they'd be over there all day, plaguing the poor man with demands for stories and piggyback rides. So he doesn't make you nervous? Not at all. Why, whenever I have to go to Berlin for supplies, Craw watches the kids for me. He's great with them, and I think the children should experience the cultural diversity. A small frown crossed the woman's face. Now I know the stories they tell about how Chumen are a little imbalanced, but I've never heard a word against Kra or his family. They're as much a part of Durst as me and my children. If only all villages were so open-minded, William said, and bade the woman good day. The bearded, burly man sat on his front steps, polishing a sword held with a cloth. He held it up for inspection, then set it down in a row next to its gleaming brothers. Picking up a dull hilt from another pile, he began the process again. The companions approached. "You're a swordsmith?" "I make hilts and handguards for witless fops like to pierce their toes showing off their fancy blades, but it's more of a hobby than a vocation, a useful way to spend my retirement." It was a mercenary. The name's Adrian. The man had out a thick hand in greeting. "I've never met a retired mercenary before." Adrian's smile was rueful. "Most of them don't live long enough to retire. I'm one of the exceptions." "You must have been good." "Lucky is more like it." "No, you're right. Come to think of it, I was good." They examined a handguard. "Looks to me like you're good at this as well." "Thank you. I'm rather proud of that piece. I'm doing it on commission for a young noble in Antara. It's complete except for a pearl I want for embellishment. If you come across one, well, I've not been paid yet, but I could give you some combat pointers that will stand you in good stead." So this is what I would call one of the potential to break the game moments, because this guy will give you melee plus 5 melee for a pearl, and he will do it more than once. So you can go beyond, you could go straight up to 100. If you have enough money, you can go straight up to 100 melee and just max it completely out at this point. There's a myth about this area that's really funny. Temple Henne. So, there's a myth about this because the creators of this game put somebody really, really close to this guy. So, he's here, but then for some reason, they put somebody, right next to him. It's weird. Where is he? Where is it? Hold on. If you recall, Simon was last found in Durst. He told me to go to Durst, so somewhere around here. But look, you gotta find somebody who knows something about Simon. So let's go ahead and do it. Get a blessing. Let's decline just for now. Nope. Okay, maybe I do have to get a blessing. Where the hell is it? This is odd. Unless I missed something. We're gonna end this stream here and we'll come back and this.